All right. What's up, everybody? I'm Mr. G. This is my friend Aritro.
What's up, guys?
We're just
Happy to
here to
be here.
talk. This isn't a super fancy podcast or anything, but if you like little intellectual conversations, then welcome to the show. So, we're gonna be talking about is the coming Renaissance. So, essentially,
Very
the idea
exciting.
is, and I kind of took some notes here, but we're all, if you're watching this, there's a good chance you're a younger person, Gen Z, maybe Gen Alpha if you're really old or young. But
Enough was young.
oh
Oh,
yeah, but I mean like an old Gen Alpha, like if they're like
okay.
what's like the oldest Gen Alpha? Probably like
Became 2010.
2010, so it'd be 14. So there might be a 14-year-old watching this, who knows?
Who
But
knows? Yeah.
in the future, when the Gen Alpha grows up, they might see this and they might be an adult and be like, wow, these people are really smart. So, anyways, kind of the idea of this is the coming Renaissance. So I think what's going to fuel this is, you know, us younger people, we kind of have a pessimistic view on the future. There's not a lot of optimism right now, given the economic state, the geopolitical state of the world, and just many other small factors, our art, our culture, social cohesion, whatever. But we look into the future now and we see kind of this pessimism, and we're not really satisfied with where the future is heading. So I don't think that we're going to go silently into the night. I think that there are some people who will pioneer and usher in a positive change. What do you think? What you
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Yeah. I definitely there's nowadays people complain more. I've myself included in the in that crowd. Not everyone knows the issues, but no one really has the the motivation to take charge. Or a better way of phrasing is um, not enough um, courage, basically.
Let's talk about that. You want to talk about like leadership because you're kind of bringing up leadership.
Yeah,
Like a lot of people
basically
aren't willing
leadership.
to take the
Yeah,
lead. Yeah.
yeah, I know. It's not like a Gen Z is lacking any strong leaders. We do have a lot of good leaders, coming up. Uh, but I think that addressing the issues of our society is much more of a bigger tackle, and I feel like if you try to mess with that, it's like messing with the whole background of systems. Especially like one prime example is the education system, because that system has been pretty much the same since its start.
Yeah, since like the
How
1900s. Well, yeah.
Yeah, and
And Mr.
it's
Aricho here is very interested in the education system as well, reforming that. Yeah,
yeah,
because they're trained, they just want some factory workers, we got our bell schedule, our menial tasks. They're just it's
I
more
mean,
of a training program for a 9 to 5 job at McDonald's or an office job or whatever. Not really sparking the creativity that our minds,
I mean,
possess.
there's a whole plethora of issues, but one of the biggest ones right now is, especially as kids, school is initial like the definition of school is a hive mind for people to gather around and discuss and learn. But like as Mr. G said earlier, it's not right now. It's not at all structured in that way. It's more structured for where do you work in time slots. This time slot to this time slot is your work, and nothing can get in between. And then later you can do whatever you want. And in the real world, that's practically how it works. You work there from eight 8 or 9, and then end your day at around 5 or 6, depending. And then for that amount of hours you worked for the company or wherever you're working, you get certain amount paid for those many hours of your work. And then, that evening, then you can either spend it all, which is which is highly likely, or
Yeah.
you can save up for something big of your purchase or invest as many routes you can take it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, there was a quote from Albert Einstein. A lot of people probably know that. We got some nice thunder in the background. Perfect vibe for this. But Albert Einstein said that education isn't about teaching you facts to memorize. It's about teaching the mind to think. And I think that we've lost that. We've lost the ability to, hmm, what's a good way to phrase it? Like, I think that not a lot of creativity. It's all about efficiency. And this kind of segues into my next point here is that as a society, we focus so much on efficiency, and this has come at the cost of beauty. In the effort of making everything as efficient and mechanized as possible, we've completely scrapped beauty because, you know, if we think about it, is beauty the most efficient? No, absolutely not. You look at the stained glass windows on the Notre Dame Cathedral, you think that's the most efficient way to make a window? Absolutely not. So I think that that's a core issue in our societies. We're so focused on speed. We just have this need for speed as a society. And I think that, this is how we're getting kind of this empty shell of this, postmodern society that we live in.
Yeah, and kind of uh, going on what you're saying, yeah, it's basically, and also saying what I was before, about working in time slots, because if you're working in time slots, because from morning to late evening ish, that's psychologically as a human, that's when if you wake up early in the morning, your brain's more clear and you can solve problems more quicker, effectively. That's what people want. So that's what people are exporting in jobs, and for you to basically work in that shift and utilize all of that energy, and then uh, be exhausted in of your mind, and then later then uh, basically take a break per se, and then uh, live a little bit of life, and then go back to that, repeat that cycle.
Yeah.
And even current and now currently, there's a lot there's a lot of advertisements of how you should escape the matrix is a huge one now.
Yeah,
I
but
think
ironically, like
all of you do.
all these people are
Yeah,
like,
they
escape the matrix. They're like creating a matrix of their own. Like
yeah, it's
there's
I
a
mean
thing
it's
called like
it's
Andrew Tate, like all like he's like people call it the Tatrix because he's basically
matrix.
just bro's basically created like another matrix.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
I'm
what
gonna
I
set you
mean,
free. But that's the thing is people, it's all about the money, it's all about the efficiency.
yeah, I mean, even with breaking into the Tate matrix or whatever, or, breaking the matrix, as
Yeah.
uh rich people call it. It's like they themselves say when they're advertising it, you have to do it now quickly. Why quickly? Why can it be a long time period where I
No, I
can
know.
slowly
I
gain this?
mean, there's just
No, it's more of like a hustle.
such a
I mean,
simple
even
saying that my mom always told me, and I'll let you finish after that. I'm sorry. But haste makes waste. Such a simple, just boom, haste
yeah,
makes waste.
I
You apply
agree.
that on a macro scale, you look at society, you realize, wow, we really, really hastily did a lot of things.
Yeah,
And
I mean, we,
what's the result?
I mean, we have created nice things, not the most. as an artist, if you're like an artist person, not the most maybe appealing to you, but appealing in a way of more simplistic. That's where I think we are now, just more simplicity, because again, back to what we were
Yeah.
saying originally.
Well, I don't think that, hear me out. I don't think simplicity is
No, no,
bad.
I'm not ditching simplicity.
No,
No,
no, no.
simplicity is completely fine, where it's necessary.
Oh yeah, I understand your point.
But if there's a repetition,
There's
it's like, okay,
I just want to
at
point out
that point, you're not really trying anymore.
there's a quote from Da Vinci. He said that simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. So I think that, you know, simplicity is good, but I think there's a difference between like simplicity and like complete minimalism and efficiency. Because like you could look at the Notre Dame Cathedral and you could think it looks complex, but you break it down, it's fairly simple. Symmetry, patterns, and I think that symmetry and patterns ultimately, it at a core can be seen as simplistic, but it's not
Yeah,
minimalistic because I think so much of it is, how much thought and effort was put into the building. That cathedral took 100 years to build, a century. Think of a building in the 21st century. Like imagine you start building in 2000 and it's not complete until 2100. We can't even comprehend that. We can't comprehend building a building that we'll never get to experience. Imagine building a building that isn't for you, but it's for your grandchildren. Not even your own children, but your grandchildren. Think about the commitment of those people, of those builders. And even after they finished the cathedral, they renovated it over hundreds of years. So, yeah,
yeah, and like bringing up, building specifically, the the U.S. Capitol building. I never forget the name, what it's called,
the
but
Senate or the Capitol building. Yeah. You're
it is
right.
in it.
Capitol building. Well, it has the
Yeah,
Senate and the House, but yeah, you're right. It's the Capitol building.
it's Capitol building. Okay. Um, that that original design and everything done by Thomas Jefferson, because if you actually look at him, he's an architect uh back at back home. So he actually designed the entire Capitol building. And in the original design, and there were stairs, leading up to the building. But during construction, they didn't put the stairs in for some, I don't know what reason. They thought not having stairs would be nice. But as soon as coincidentally, as soon as he passed away, to commemorate his death, they put stairs in the building.
That's good.
It's
Yeah, he also designed his own house,
yeah.
Monticello.
Hmm.
Yeah, very, very interesting house. He had skylights and a little rotunda and everything. It's pretty interesting if you look into it. But yeah, that whole style is what is that, neoclassical? But
I
yeah,
think so, yeah.
it's interesting. I think that founding fathers, like those were some Renaissance men, if you know, and this kind of leads into the coming Renaissance of Gen Z. I think that we're seeing an emergence of Renaissance men, of you don't just have to be this one thing. You can diversify your interest. You can be a warrior. You can be a builder. You can be a philosopher. You can be all of these things. You don't have to pigeonhole yourself into one role. And I think that, you know, as a person, it enriches you to be athletic, have an interest in philosophy, and have a skill. Like there's nothing wrong with having a diverse set of interests in a diverse life. And I think that the founding fathers, like Thomas Jefferson, he was a philosopher, he was a writer, but he also had an interest in architecture. And I'm pretty sure he also had an interest in gardening. He invented the swivel desk. Same with Benjamin Franklin, scientist,
Yeah.
inventor, musician, philosopher, writer, all of these things. These people, they were on a different like intellectual echelon that, you know, it's hard for us to even comprehend like how they pull that off.
Yeah. I mean,
I think like we're at a place in society where like that's so easy to do. Like we have the internet. Like you could learn something like Python for free on the internet right now. or web development or drawing, anything really. Or you can learn math. Just look up organic chemistry tutor.
Not the most recommended subject, but you know.
Well, math is I mean, it's kind of the bedrock of everything now. But yeah.
No, I'm just saying organic chemistry. From what I heard, it's not the easiest of classes.
No, no, I mean that's what his channel is called, Organic Chemistry Tutor.
Oh,
Yeah, he makes like math tutorials and stuff.
that's a little misleading.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But he probably like started off doing chemistry. But anyways, back to the video. But yeah, no, I mean my point is you can learn everything. I think that, how would you define a Renaissance man? Like a Renaissance man?
A Renaissance man, to me, is a person with just a whole bunch of ideas and want to see change in some way, shape, or form and act upon it, which is right now what we're lacking. We have, but we have currently we have a bunch of Renaissance people per se, but not like I was saying beginning of this video or podcast. Um, we don't have much of actual leaders to conduct it. There's like we are all in a train, but no one's running the train. We're all in the passengers. We're just following like a huge people crowd, but there's
We
not actually
just
a
we just spawned
conductor.
in. We don't know where we're going.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we need
uh like there's like back in uh 1800s, like, or even before that, where when Isaac Newton once lived. I forgot what year that
I
was,
think it was
but
the 1700s. Yeah, it was like 17
1700s.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was basically
Don't quote
when
me.
the time I'm trying to recall is when science wasn't really a popular
Oh yeah,
subject.
yeah. It
You
was
know,
definitely in the Enlightenment,
Isaac
scientific
Newton,
revolution.
for me, he would be considered as a Renaissance man
Yeah.
because
Or Da
he had a
Vinci.
and Da Vinci, because they both had different skills, and and Da Vinci had what he's known for his art, like one of his pieces, the Mona Lisa, and then he's also an architect, an engineer. He also
Sculptor.
sculptor. He had a bunch of those things, and if you look at it, his skill sets, they're all kind of mushed together into one.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Aricho here is making a really good point. What the point that he's making is whenever you like people with multiple skills, you have like two types of people, and it's more of a spectrum. So don't like think you're like pigeonholed. Like you're not like one or the other, but some people lean more towards a specialist, which is somebody who specializes more narrowly on a skill or skill set. And then you have the type of person who's a multi-potentialite is the word for them. You could call them the Renaissance man, the polymath, whatever. Um, but what Aritro is talking about here is that both are like equally valuable, but the value of the multi-potentialite is that they are able to make connections between all of their skills. That's what we're getting at here. And it is those connections that I believe where innovation happens. I think that multi-potentialites, they innovate with the connections, and specialists, they focus so deeply on something that they're able to completely pioneer in it. So
yeah,
I think it's important as the audience that you think about, are you more of a multi-potentialite or are you more of a specialist? And when you kind of have that mindset or that framework, and you can be kind of a hybrid of both, you might just have like maybe three skills you want to master, or maybe you want like 10 skills you want to be kind of good at, or you just want like two skills that you're like specialized in, very closely related. Um, so I think that, it's important to understand yourself in that way and find out how you can innovate.
yeah. I mean, like I was saying, like Da Vinci had those all skill sets. He would be classified as like more of a polyman. Has very basically in our society, as we will classify him as like a multi-talented man, and whereas a unit will be more of a class of, or basically more a specialist in physics. because that's what he's really passionate about, and also the solar system as well. So more of astronomy,
So
astronomy and
he was also
space.
into the esoteric, like alchemy and stuff.
Yeah, so
That's a
basically,
whole different
kind of it was,
conversation. But I
you
mean,
know,
honestly, you could consider Elon Musk as, or not Elon Musk. Why am I saying Elon Musk? Isaac Newton,
no,
as a multi-potentialite because he was into math, he was into astronomy, he was into
yeah,
um,
but like
alchemy
and
and
yeah,
the
but in general,
esoteric.
like where Da Vinci, I would argue, not saying both are not multi-talented, they are, but the reason why Isaac is not as multi-talented is because those things kind of anyway had to kind of be there's or anyway pretty much integrated within itself into the realm of science.
Well, I mean,
Whereas,
they're both
whereas,
talented, just in different ways. I mean, Isaac
yeah,
Newton was,
yeah,
I mean, bro invented
I don't,
calculus. I mean, it's
yes,
a pain in the ass, but
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, we love calculus, but all
Oh
its
no,
uh fuck with all its factors limits is
yeah, derivatives.
more hard to remember than anything. You know, and Isaac Newton was also the one. I mean, this entire podcast could be about him, but anyway, my bad.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of like some good examples of like specialists. But you could take
Specialist,
someone like Frank Lloyd Wright,
Franklin
world-renowned
Wright, yeah.
architect,
And then
very focused on architecture.
you could
Um,
also maybe take. You can also, I think, you take Elon Musk, your current example,
he's
because
more of a multi-potentialite because he's into physics, computer science, business, and all
well,
that,
but technically, I mean,
and
computer science is not really a specialist
neuroscience.
in. You're
Well, because he
he
owns
he
Neuralink and everything. So yeah.
he he owns it because of business, but he doesn't. I don't think he knows it too much depth about it.
No,
So he's more a specialist in like rocket physics. So I will say he's more.
I will
Frank.
say if you are in the audience and you want to take on a more of a leadership role, I would recommend I mean, I would say don't lean too much in the multi-potentialite realm, but be well versed in several subjects and don't focus as much on depth, but have the level of competence to where you can communicate because ultimately like the power of the multi-potentialite is, and I saw this on a TED talk, and if I'm not lazy I'll link it in the description, but basically multi-potentialites and specialists they work super well together. This is like freaking dynamic duo over here because the multi-potentialite kind of has these ideas and he can outsource, or he or she can outsource these ideas to the specialist. And that's how, I mean, that's how magic happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's kind of a spectrum though. You could be kind of in the middle. You could just be like, you have a few things that you're good at. You have one thing that you're good at, or you have multiple things that you're well versed in, but not master. So like jack of all trades or master. And also we have 10 minutes. So we might not get through everything, but I would like to segue into our next point, which is um, disconnection and alienation from nature. And we see this with our philosophy as a society. We see this with our architecture. We see this in our social lives. So, what do you think? How do you think that we have disconnected and alienated ourselves from nature? Kind of this man versus nature dynamic.
um, well, we have separated kind of ourselves into where nature is nature and man is basically us in a more box basically to put it. And the reason I say that is because man because as humans we are meant to interact with actual nature where we're not living inside a physical box and actually uh exploring basically. I think also another thing is that when we hear the term nature, everyone usually thinks or people picture in their mind more of like a forest or like mountains, more of like what nature's uh pictured as, or described as in our society's folklore per se. Uh, but honestly, nature can be even the smallest things of just going outside for a walk in your neighborhood. It's not, not the most picturesque thing as like what you describe nature as, but having the ability to walk outside and seeing other people, that's nature.
Yeah,
It's it's
absolutely.
it's it's the it's the interaction between you and someone else. That's what,
That human intimacy, of course.
yeah,
And I think I'd
definitely.
like to explore kind of the overall attitude that I think that this kind of comes from the Industrial Revolution. And don't get me wrong, the Industrial Revolution had some, I mean, it propelled us to new heights. I think technological advancement is good, but I think that whenever we have the attitude that we are trying to conquer nature, we're trying to bend nature to our will, to what point does that become destructive and we alienate ourselves completely? Um, you can compare two different types of cities. You can compare a more modern city, grid pattern, strip malls, large glass buildings. And glass buildings can be good in some ways, but very stark contrast to the green, more organic form of nature. And this is in our city planning, this is in our architecture. Um, I think that there's a bigger appeal. I think that humans naturally gravitate more towards just organic style living spaces. I think that having an organically planned city, not completely inefficient, some, obviously have it engineered in a way where it can be efficient, but not to the point where we sacrifice beauty. It's all about finding that balance between efficiency and beauty. And I think that we've lost that and we've sort of gone on far on this side of the spectrum of efficiency and beauty's on this side. Now, if we're on this, or if we're completely on the beauty focused side, then we'll have a completely inefficient world and we won't be as optimized. So obviously we need a balance where we feel in tune with
And
nature. We can leverage nature. It's all about leveraging nature because think about even renewable energy, right? Everybody loves renewable energy, not only because, it saves the planet, but it's more sustainable. Like we are leveraging nature more in a way that where it's more about leveraging nature. Is it better to mine fossil fuels or just um, harvest energy from the sun? Obviously, the sun
yeah,
is the path of least resistance, but you need more technology for that. But anyways, that was kind of a ramble. But yeah,
yeah,
thoughts?
but kind of what is going along. The reason why renewable energy is not uh most preferred right now currently is because, one, the amount of energy that society demands is higher than what renewable energy can produce at at its maximum capacity. Even especially solar energy, it's easy to get, but it's the most low. It's the most lowest outcome of output, energy output.
I was talking to my engineering friend and we were talking about like I like would just throw out like because he's like kind of into like making like he's like on the solar car team or whatever, the robotics car.
Hmm.
I think it was like solar car or something. So I kind of jokingly said, like, when do you think we're gonna have, electric aircraft? And he said that the biggest problem right now is the batteries. Like we just can't find, like we need to make batteries lighter and more efficient. So I think that like it's a technological barrier where we need more advanced batteries. And I think once we get better batteries where lithium mining isn't, because that's a whole nother thing. That's kind of the dark side of renewable energies. Lithium mining is super like bad for the environment, but
Yeah, I
also
mean, electric cars, what they
Yeah, they're
advertising so
overrated.
bad is more
The
they
concept is good. I see the vision, but right now, electric cars like lithium mining is it's not. I don't think it's
the,
much better.
the
It could be worse than just carbon fossil fuels.
carbon honestly is better. Typically not saying it's good. Both are equally bad, electric and uh the gas.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
reason why gas is better in this case is because if you do in an ideal world in a where carbon dioxide is not extraordinarily high amount in our atmosphere to where most the heat's trapped inside our Earth. In an ideal world, the carbon that's produced by oil or by gas isn't that much to way too much affect the entire carbon
yeah.
dioxide
Like
amount
I
in the
said,
entire
it's a
atmosphere.
technological barrier, but I think that
Whereas
it's still important. Like renewable is still good because
lithium is more basically.
we're eventually gonna run out of we're eventually gonna run out of fossil fuels, and then we're cooked if we don't find a replacement.
Yes, so
Well, we do have nuclear energy, and I
nuclear
don't
energy
know.
is even more worse.
Well, no, nuclear energy is actually pretty good because it's not pollutant. It doesn't cause as much pollution, and it's technically, I mean, it's non-renewable, but it doesn't cause pollution like CO. It doesn't have heavy CO2 emissions, but it's also a little risky because, you
Yeah,
know,
nuclear.
nuclear, it's nuclear, you're dealing with nuclear fission. One thing goes
That's
wrong
why
and
I
boom,
think
boom, Chernobyl. Also, we have
uh
like a minute 40 left.
quickly wrap my thought up is I there's basically the prime energy engine for or the technology advancement that needs to be made pretty soon is hydrogen. Math getting hydrogen into electricity and converting it into power.
That's a
That's
nuclear fusion. Yeah, nuclear fusion is a big thing too. That would be
yeah.
super useful. Just make our own sun. I'm optimistic about the future. I think that we will break a lot of technological barriers. I think that despite our generation seeming like our brains are fried, I think that we have boundless potential, and that's the whole idea of this podcast. I'm gonna wrap this up right now. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. You're a real one. But yeah, I the whole point of this is the coming renaissance. I think that our generation, we grew up optimistic, only to be disappointed after COVID. But I think that we can use this as fuel and we can achieve new heights. And I believe in everybody. I really do. Thanks for listening.